Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Late Afternoon Glass Off, otherwise known as the Largo podcast. I am here joined with my good friend and co-host Finley James as always. How are you, Finley?
Zach, I'm going incredibly well. How have you been?
I'm good. I like that you're wearing the home-cooked t-shirt, as am I.
Yeah, shout out Hamish McKenzie, Let It Shine video. Chuck him a follow on Instagram. Bit of a release last year. Was it early this year?
That was this year.
This year.
It's all a bit of a blur, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, is that last year?
Don't know, but it doesn't matter. The swell that he filmed was last year, and it was best ever's couple of occasions. And he put together a bit of a clip that you may or may not ever get to see, but he's done up a run of t-shirts. Me and Zach were fortunate enough to get ourselves one. So shout out to you, Hamish. Thank you.
Yeah, it's almost like Kale Walsh's Stab Editor of the Year. It was on Stab and now it's gone and it's nowhere and half the world haven't even seen it yet. I did speak to him not too long ago at Lungy Slab's Prem in Byron and he said it will be somewhere soon, but that's all we've got to work with.
How's that Bitcoin going that he won as a prize as well? Have you?
I know. I haven't spoken to him about that, but I did see on Stab somewhere that he still holds it. Good. And I think today it's at 137,000 Aussie dollars. So fucking hell, that's a nice prize purse to accidentally acquire because back then I think it was $30,000 when he got that Australian.
Yeah.
So just by sitting on that egg and letting it cook has paid off well.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think you're right. They advertised it as like one Bitcoin, which at the time was about 30 grand. You're right. And then it's a pretty cool sort of incentive, like have that sit there, and if you sit it there long enough you're going to make extra on it.
Yeah, well, I don't think it's an incentive anymore. That's out of everyone's budget.
Yes,
but yes, welcome back. If you're new here, go back to our early episodes, have a yarn, where we talk about absolutely everything that you can think of in surfing and we talk shit. So welcome back. And if you're not following us on Instagram, TikTok, I think we're on TikTok, aren't we?
We're on TikTok.
Regrettably.
Yeah, unfortunately.
You can find us there.
At the Largo podcast is the handle. And subscribe on YouTube as well. We're starting to get a couple sort of tick up there. So that'll be...
Speaking of starting to get a couple, we jumped on the back of a pretty big horse. Not yesterday, last week.
Yeah.
The name of Lennox Smith. Probably our best performing video, would you say?
Oh, undoubtedly, Zach. It was... I think when Jack Robinson shared our video, we got, I think, around 40,000 views, or late 30s. And this one got in excess of 65,000 views, but the engagement was really good. Like thousands of likes, thousands of reshares. So, thank you, Lennox. We'll be expecting the invoice shortly.
Yeah, he's definitely going to hit us up. And one thing we haven't mentioned, mate, new background right now for our viewers.
Yeah. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll notice that we're not sat on a shag rug anymore. We've actually got some kind of setup. So it's a bit plain right now, but we will add to this as time goes on, and it's going to be like a little mural to Largo, and we will build on it. So bear with us. But what's been going on in the week of Zach Whiteman?
This week, back to some sort of normality. I've been slightly ill for the last 2 weeks, which is a bit random. Finally back to, I would say, normal health and trying to get fit.
Yep.
I've been going to the gym a little bit and it's been absolutely killer. It's funny how you have time off from the gym and it just hits you like a bag of dicks when you come back. So legs are currently quite sore. So I've been trying to get back on top of my health, to be honest.
I love that. That's great.
Not drinking for now.
Yeah.
I did say that when I went down to Phillip Island, I lasted 4 days.
Well, it's a trip. You gotta enjoy yourself while you're down there. Bit of business and pleasure. I, on the other hand, have not so much been looking after my health. I've done 3/5 of F all this week. I've barely left the house. I was just saying to you before I drove here, I'd pretty well forgotten how to drive, and then got here and kind of just went this is worrying that I haven't left the house in this long. We did go for a surf. What day was that? Monday. I think we went.
Yeah, Monday.
We went on Monday. Me and Zach, we're gonna do some product testing and reviews, which will be coming soon when we actually get some waves for it. But we did go for a surf, and in the aftermath of the cyclone that just rolled through here, we've got pretty much ocean water that resembles a muddy river, and we surfed in that with dead fish on the shoreline. And
it's fucking nuclear is what it is. It's not dirty water. It is literally nuclear waste.
Yeah, Zach's got a couple extra toes growing.
Mm-hmm. That's all the ones you can see.
Yeah.
I've got more.
But yeah, look, not a heap going on in my world either. But what we did have was this episode's going to be a bit of a double up. So it's going to be the Portugal review and fantasy review as well. And then we're going to go straight into El Salvador because the WSL's been... depending on which way you look at it, kind or unkind, in that the next few events are back to back to back to back. So we're just going to fit in where we can, hopefully get these out on a sort of a Wednesday or a Thursday, just depending on when the event finishes and starts. But yeah, we'll get into that. First though, surf of the week. Zach, who's yours for this week?
Mine is Loki Cullen, or Lokana Cullen. He is from Sydney. He's 14 and he is insane. I think the internet has seen what he's just done in Hawaii on his backhand. One of the biggest backhand punts I think arguably a 14-year-old's ever done in the live environment. You know, there's all these little kids doing crazy shit in pools, but that shit was insane what he was doing. So no doubt he is my pick of the week.
And a Billabong team rider as well.
Just happens to be a Billabong team
which
rider,
is,
yes.
You'd be very, very happy having him come through your little stable of athletes.
Yep. I think he's definitely one to watch for everyone. He could be maybe like the equivalent of what Katie Simmers and Aaron Brooks have done.
Yep. Like ahead of his
yeah,
time,
just
sort of.
like someone that just comes from not so much the deep. He's pretty well known already, but could just really hit the world by storm.
Yeah, no, he's incredible, and sort of to echo that a little bit, mine's another up and coming. We wouldn't really call him a Grom anymore. He's sort of surpassed that. Luke Swanson. He's pretty much John Florence's long lost brother. But he stomped a pretty significant backflip this week, and one of the cleanest ones you'll see. Both of these guys stacked their clips from Hawaii too, worth noting. Bit of late season sort of Rockies where Loki...
looked like Rocky lefts.
Yeah.
Which is no stranger to any video part on the North Shore, so that would make sense if it is.
For sure. Well, yeah, Luke on that same stretch of coastline there, yeah, did a pretty mental backflip, so I had to chuck him in mine. In a week that was fairly slow, but those guys shone far and away above everyone else. Like we touched on before as well, we did have Portugal. That was a little bit did leave a little bit out there to be desired, that event. There was some highlights that came through, but I mean, it was a bit hit or miss. You had like the 5 or 6 days in between there where they didn't run, so it sort of gets rid of a bit of that continuity that you kind of want. You want to just get in there, watch 3 or 4 consecutive days, get it done, move on, where they didn't really have that. But
we called that.
We did.
We did say it would run days off.
Yeah.
I did say 1 or 2 days, if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
It did have more than that, but we kind of called it, and I guess it's just a shame when you see warm-up sessions before the period opens for the event and it's pumping. You kind of think, well, it's just going to be maybe a little bit worse the next day, but it was pure shit.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's
a little bit sad to see.
It's a good way to put it. It was A+++, Paniche, like pumping. Jack Robbo, you would have seen, got the roll in from the second reef roll in at Paniche, which I've never seen before. Such is the powers of that man. But went from pumping to pretty average for the rest of the event window. So hopefully that changes into the next event. But we'll go on to our predictions. So I had to win. I picked Philippe, who finished up with a 5th place quarterfinal, which probably would have been, like, he hasn't had the best start to the year, so you take it at this point.
His name's Philippe 2.0.
Why?
Philippe was pre-break.
Yeah.
Now it's Philippe 2.0, which we're not sure if the 2 is an extra 2 kilos or if it's just version 2.
Yeah.
We're still finding that out.
For sure. Well, look, not a bad pick in the end. He came up against your pick, actually, who knocked him out of the event in the quarters, and Ethan just found a pretty crazy freight training left on a day that there wasn't many of those going around. So, yeah, look, he tried his best. He did a big backhand 4-8 in that heat and got nearly an 8, but wasn't good enough. Kind of just alluded to yours, but Ethan, third place, pretty decent finish. And we did touch on that before the event, saying how well-rounded Ethan is now. It wouldn't be shocking to see him hoist the trophy. And once again, it's not his conditions necessarily, but he just outclassed everyone all the way to the semi-finals.
He did. There's one thing that I don't know. He kind of left a little bit of meat on the bone with that one long barrel.
Yeah,
came out and had the biggest air section I've ever seen, and he did do a backhand air reverse, although it wasn't even remotely close to being landed. So it kind of begs the question: if that was someone else, would that have been a 12? Because it was the best barrel of the day, and then no joke, looked like a ramp out of a wave pool. With a wind coming towards you, potentially that was a 12-point ride.
Oh, I thought it could have been a 10 anyway, mind you.
Then a 15.
Well, like the way that wave was, no one had anything close to that all day. Nothing, not one wave was ridden that was remotely close to that, and there wasn't going to be one. So I feel like in that situation, that was so clearly better than everything else. I feel like, why not just throw a 10 at it? Like, that was amazing. Maybe the WSL's cutting back. They've got not many Yetis sitting there, the 110s they give out for 10-point rides.
I'd love to know if they hand them out at the event or you just get one shipped to your house, because fuck checking that in at the airport.
That's a good point, yeah. We both then had Erin Brooks for the win. Semi-final finish for her, which was unreal. That was her best showing of the year so far.
Yep.
Look, she's building. I looked at her results today. She's gone better in each event. So third place. Next event's a little bit of a weird one for her. We'll get to that later, but I'm a bit skeptical of her. Just watching her in a few of those heats, she doesn't throw a lot of water.
Well, you have to think about, she would weigh no more than 50 kilos wet.
Yeah.
Naturally, it doesn't matter how well you surf, at a certain point, the raw power aspect comes into it.
Yeah.
So I think that's to come. I don't think that's anything she could particularly work on right now.
Yeah.
She's obviously so young still, so I think that's to come. And you make a valid point, but she makes up for it in so many other different aspects.
There's a noticeable difference in speed with her compared to the rest of the tour, and look, it's all physiological right now with her. There's not much she can do about the size of herself, but it did probably bring her unstuck a little bit in the semis, because she probably, I thought she maybe won that heat anyway with Gabby Bryan, but there was just a very, very noticeable difference in the amount of water thrown between the two surfers, and I think realistically that's what gave Gabby the leapfrog into the final, because if Erin threw a bit more water on her waves, I think she would have been there with bells on. I think she really had the two best waves of that heat, just maybe lacked a bit of spray. But
cool.
We'll go into the dark horses now. Now, who did you have, Zach?
I had Joel Vaughan,
Mm-hmm.
and he did probably as well as I thought he would.
Yep.
I kind of put him there in that mid kind of field, or midway through the draw.
Yep.
Around a 16 finish. Pretty
Impressive from him. Look, that's his third 9th place in a row. So he's just racking up 9th places, which is going to do wonders for him, getting closer to the cut, because the difference between around a 16 and around a 32 is pretty significant points-wise. So he's just banking results. We said in our pre-season wrap-up that we were pretty confident he was going to re-qualify, and he's looking to do that quite easily. I had Crosby in mind. Now, he did look good early. Won his first heat. Round of 32 finish for him, though. So really starting out on the back foot here. Needs to get going, because he's one that cut could creep up on pretty quickly, and he may he'd want to have jagged a few results because he's missed the first couple. So
he is now in he's finding himself in dangerous territory. He's going to have to start getting some above average results, if not a win, to really solidify that top 20. How many?
22. Yeah. And then Zach, who was your women's dark horse?
Betty Lou. Again, same results. So I feel like I got a pass mark, which was pretty much my school, because you might even know this. Do you want to guess my ATAR?
Oh, I don't want to write you off too hard.
No, go for it. Write me off.
I'm going to just go 70.
Oh, fuck no. Come back down to earth.
What?
I got 52.5.
Did ya?
Yep. So to all the fucking nerds out there, that's a pass.
Yeah. And look, if you kids out there, you get 52.5, one day you can have your own podcast. So things are looking up for you.
Only just. Chat GPT gets us through most.
It really does. I had Joanne DeFay, and she made the quarters, so pretty happy, like with a baby in her stomach.
Yeah, it's pretty gnarly.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So
do you reckon that's just like you got to do a poo? Like obviously different, but like for something to be like, I really want to know what you're feeling like. Not many people know what pregnancy feels like. Like half of the population instantly don't. So is it like...
I'm interested to know what you mean by that. Like,
just the feeling. I know fucking how the anatomy works and whatnot, I think. But do you reckon for a male, like, that's the equivalent?
No. I don't. Look, I'm not gonna touch it. I've got no idea, nor will I ever. Nor
it's
will
the
you.
roguest comment of 2025. But honestly, I feel like some guys out there are probably going, look, that guy's a bit weird, but I'm kind of interested to know as well.
Maybe you can ask her. Send her a DM. We'll leave that there, though. We'll go into a couple of the... I kind of trawled through the event results beyond sort of our winners and our dark horses, and sort of came up with a few highlights and lowlights that I'm sure Zach will echo as well. Feel free to touch on any of these as we go. So my first one, Yago getting the win. So look, we had super high expectations on him this year. I think I may have even tipped him for the title. I need to check up on that, but definitely had him in my top 5. It was looking a bit dicey to begin with. He got it done though. So he airs, barrels, turns. When he needed to, he just did what he had to do and beat the guy in the final who was unstoppable.
And he got a Volcom contract out of it.
Like, Volcom execs worldwide would be so stoked that he decided to chuck the stickers on his board, because we commented last episode he was going to be sans stickers in this event, and we were wrong. He actually is a man of ethics, clearly, and when these guys looked after me for a while, I'm gonna chuck these stickers back on, and thank God for Volcom that he did, because that could have been a bit of a blow for them.
It would have been a interesting stab article, to say the least.
For sure. But yeah, great for Yago. Another highlight, Gabby Bryan. Now, didn't get the win in the end. She got a second place, but she's impressing at every venue. She hasn't had really a bad event yet. And we touched on it before, but just that extra power that none of the other girls on tour have. She has another level. And it's going to be a bit of a weapon for her this year, I feel like, because, like I said, it's kind of like Philippe on the men's side. I mean, Philippe version 1.0, you might put it.
Thank you.
There's certain venues on tour where he's levels above everyone else. Your J-Bays, the El Salvador event that's coming up, he's right up there too. Trestles. She's kind of got that bit of X factor, not in the maneuvers she's doing, but just how hard she's hitting the lip every time. And I think it's going to come in super handy for her throughout the season. So great stuff for Gabby. Another one was Rio. Now, the Terminator, the little Indonesian Terminator, has found himself in the quarters once again. Really enjoying watching him surf this year. He's one of the hardest working guys on tour, and it's become super obvious in his performances. What do you reckon? Is he someone that you're looking at going, he's impressed you this year, or?
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know what his Spotify playlist is because it's fucking working.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, I think it's all mindset, to be honest. I think he's clicked into a new gear. He's found a new gear, or he's engineered a new gear that he maybe didn't think he had, and now he's just tapping into it and seems to be unstoppable. I think it's his confidence. I think if I had to narrow it down to something, I would say he just seems a lot more confident and almost not giving a fuck about what people think.
For sure.
Unapologetic about his approach and what he does. A little bit like Griff. Griff is unapologetic in that sense as well. Like, he's in the sand dunes meditating, blindfold on, skull candy crushes on his head. Most people are probably going to frown at that and say, what's this fucking wackadoo doing? But hey, look, can you call them wackadoos when they're winning events and pushing the envelope of surfing? I think there's something in that.
The proof's in the pudding there, and it's that mindset that he's got is just shining through every event now. So good on him. He's sort of come from not much and he's turning it into something. So amazing for him. Now, Barron I had in there too, which wasn't someone I thought I'd be saying at the end of this event. Didn't really have him pegged for a result here. I don't think you would have either.
No, I think I may have lightly
cooked him.
No, yeah, I've lightly cooked him and said that I just said that he's done this before. He's smashed the bag out of Hawaii and then he kind of loses his legs, but which he has done a little bit, and now he's regaining. So I think he might be onto something. Yeah,
look, 3rd place. So add it to his 1st place that he got at the start of the year. It's going to be really difficult for him to, like, if he even just locks in a few moderate results and then at these venues he's not supposed to do well at, and then sort of at your chopes, at the waves where he really could dominate, you could find himself in the top 5, and at Cloudy we might have ourselves a new challenger for a world title this year.
I did lightly cook him, but I also gave him the cookies where he can absolutely shred all things. He puts out video parts all over the world and he rips. So I think the whole all the stops on the tour suit him. Just, I don't know, there's something external that may not click yet, but I think he may have found it. And then your dark horse made his way into these as well. Joel Vaughan, said it before, but 3 consecutive 9th places, just outside the top 10. I think he's sitting 11th now, and he's looking very good to retain his spot on tour. So good on Joel. And then we'll get into some low lights now. First one, Zhao Chienka, 33rd place, or as the old boys call it, it's a 33rd is a dirty turd. That's what he's ended up with here. Would be spewing at his start to the season. He lost by 0.13 in a super low scoring heat. And he's a surfer that really belongs on tour. So hope he can get it back together, but really slow start to the season for him. You have anything to add on Zhao? Nothing.
Moving on. Bit of a gripe here. Now, GP, Georgie Pitta, lost in the elimination round also, so also got a dirty turd. This is more of a crack at the judges here. I think they couldn't have judged that heat any more poorly if they tried.
I think it highlighted an issue that everyone has seen from time to time this year. At each stop. There's always 1 or 2 where you're just like, what the fuck are they talking about? And there was actually more at this event. Italo.
Yes. Yeah.
I think he should have had at least a couple more 8s, 7s that were 8s, and 9s
10s.
that were 10s.
Yeah.
So yeah, you definitely highlight something here, but this is what they call a good old-fashioned daylight robbery.
It was robbery, and look, I found myself a pretty nice return on Sammy actually winning that heat financially.
So you're calling daylight robbery as well, but you're happy.
I had money on the guy that won the heat, and I still think GP got robbed.
Yeah, so you robbed him.
Well, no, I had Sammy Pupo, who I thought was a pretty good bet in that heat, but at good odds. He, though, did not win that heat. I actually think there's an argument there that he actually got 3rd and should have lost out 1st round. I was watching the heat going, there's no way he hangs on to this. Ramsey got a wave at the end and GP, and I feel like they both should have gone into 1st and 2nd. Sammy was nowhere to be seen in that last exchange, and they were two very good waves. But GP definitely didn't deserve to get the boot there, and it was sort of, he became the victim of a pretty poorly judged heat, and a 33rd. I think he got a 5th at pipe, so like luckily he's already got a result in the bank, but you don't want too many of those last places because they add up pretty quickly. The next one, Tatiana Weston-Webb sits dead last on the ladies tour after 3 events. What do you reckon about that?
I'm not surprised.
You're not surprised?
No.
Okay. Why is that?
It just goes to show there's a new age. There's a new force coming, and it's coming quick. And if you're not ready for it, then you're going to get fucking flogged.
Yeah.
I'm not saying she's surfing poorly. I just think she needs to find something and find it really quick.
Yeah, look, I can see your argument. I'm just coming from the aspect of she's a tour veteran. She's been in, of the 4 final series they've had at Trestles, she's been in 3 of them. And then the other one, she missed out by a couple of spots. So she's been right there. And she was nearly, like, she was pretty much 1 turn away from winning a world title in 2021. Like, she very nearly could have just been a world champ. So, look, still not complete panic stations for her yet, but she'll need to get going soon. Betty Lou, also similarly to Taddy, much better surfer than her results this year would indicate. She's very good. So similar to a few like Jiao, she lost by 0.06 to Gabby Bryan and could have gone either way that heat. I don't know. Gabby had a couple of close ones actually. She was on the right end of, and sometimes that happens. So good on her. But yeah, Betty Lou's found herself in a really tedious spot now, needing a couple of results going into the back half. And then my last one was Griffin. He's 3 poor results in a row now, and he is someone that is definitely better than the results he's had. Portugal's been a pretty happy hunting ground for him over the years, winning that event and having one of the more memorable 10s with a big backhand 4 rotation that he landed there. And he'd be super devastated if he didn't bank a good result there.
Yeah, I think he would have been in a lot of people's fantasy based off that. So there'd be a lot of angry people out there. I think we all expected Griff to do a little bit better. Not sure what happened there, or what's been happening, as you mentioned. But I feel like it's going to shift. That momentum will shift. We'll go into it later, but he is in my fantasy team for El Salvador, so I feel like he can recover this.
For sure. I'm right there with you. And then we head into the hotly contested fantasy teams. Now, top 5 from this event, there was a couple new faces in there. I'm going to let you run through these, Zach.
Why?
You'll see. Just go.
Righto. So top 5 from that previous event. Paul Southern still on top. No, sorry, he's not on top. He's on top for that event. Sorry, for the correction there. The Big Prawn in second. Do we know who that is?
Don't know. There's every chance it's Gordo Kilby though.
Okay. Gotcha.
Don't know though.
West Lizzie in third. Now, I think I know who number 4 is, but fuck, they get a prize pack at the end of the year anyway for their name. In 4th is Finley's Forey. I love it. And you're not the only Forey in the draw.
There's a couple.
Geordie Smith Forey, I think. Yep.
He's in there too.
I'm thinking about changing my name to another surfer's Forey just to get on a bandwagon. Guys, if we can get anything going, can we just all change our name to someone's Forey? It would be the best league ever. And then in number 5, pretty funny as well, is Medina's Peck.
There you go.
I did think of Pekka, like being his dick, but I'm assuming it's actually his injured pectoral muscle.
I'd go the former. I think it's your first one.
You think it's his cock?
Yeah, I think so.
It has to be Pekka, you'd think.
I don't know, man. There's some pretty crazy people in this league. I wouldn't be surprised.
Anyway, that's the fantasy top 5 wrap up for Portugal Panici.
Sweet. And then we'll give our overall top 5 their flowers too. Andy Irvine retains his spot at the top, albeit the gap is closing slightly. Paul Southern's moving his way up, but Andy Irvine sent me a message today. He's actually 13th in the world.
That's pretty solid.
We've got the 13th best fantasy surfer picker.
13th best. Doesn't have a ring to it, Finley.
Yeah, we'll claim anything we can get because me and you are doing this league 0 favours.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
We'll have him. Paul Southern, like I said, is in second. Bowie, your boss, still right up there in the mix. Wolves, don't know who Wolves is, but they're in fourth. And then fifth place is Smelly Feet. So
super original name, that one. We're gonna have to change that one to Forey.
Yeah, yeah. Follow the trend. So well done to those guys. They're the rabbits that we're all chasing, I guess. And then just on me and Zach, I'm in 14th, so I'm not too far out of it. And Zach, you've made a few moves. Actually, you're up in a 54th place.
What, from 56?
No, 60 something. So you've made your way up.
There's a few people who didn't even submit a team.
There
I think
is.
I was below that.
There's a couple that didn't. But yeah, so that's the fantasy wrap up for Portugal. Now we will move swiftly into El Salvador because we've got a lot to talk about here too. Zach, do you want to give us a rundown on some of Zach's facts?
Welcome to Zach's Facts, everyone. Another edition. Are you excited?
I'm pumped.
I've tried to keep them relatively I didn't know that, and not related to surfing at all, because obviously everyone knows about surfing. Did you know that El Salvador is the smallest country in Central America?
I didn't.
And it's also named Land of the Volcanoes. Can you guess why?
Do they have lots of volcanoes, Zach?
Fuck, you're good at this game. Very good. This one's probably the weirdest one, and I'm not sure why they don't have one, but they don't have an army. So anyone out there looking to overthrow a government, just ask the Egyptians. They've done it 4 times, but go there and shouldn't be too bad because you're just taking on the local police.
Nice.
But I'm guessing the island is quite small, so it wouldn't be too difficult.
I'd imagine that the local police are heavily armed as well.
Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe. And the third fact is El Salvador was the first country on earth to legalize the use of Bitcoin. And they've actually been a prominent figure in the Bitcoin space. They're so pro-Bitcoin that you can go and purchase fruit and pay with Bitcoin. So pretty crazy.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny that they might be ahead of everyone out of El Salvador.
They might be the global leaders in finances worldwide.
Well, they've accidentally made a shit ton of money. They bought it way back. The government put it in their reserve and sat on it, and they've made a fuckload of money. But I just got a story. We're not financial advisors, but for anyone having a bad day out there, where you feel like you've kicked a cat, or you've walked under a ladder or a sign, you just go, I'm the most unlucky motherfucker on earth. There's someone more unlucky than you. And his name is James Howells. Are you familiar with James's story?
No, what's James done?
No, so it's a Bitcoin story.
Mm-hmm.
So James is a Welsh computer engineer. And in 2013, his ex-girlfriend, I really emphasize the word ex here,
Right.
mistakenly threw out his hard drive, which was housing 8,000 Bitcoin.
Oh, no.
Now, in 2013, I'm not really sure what the numbers would have been, but it would have been around $600, because I'm pretty sure it started in 2009. No, it would have been about 18,000, something like that. Doesn't matter.
Way less.
Way less.
Yeah.
Than what it is currently. So he is actually trying to buy the landfill in which he thinks the USB hard drive is in. The council there, the local council, have said, we own this land, so you actually can't buy it. And they're planning to actually put a solar farm on there. That USB is now worth 1.2 billion Australian dollars. Imagine walking around just going, I'm a fucking billionaire, but I'm not.
I'd never sleep again.
That's enough to make a man go clinically insane.
Oh,
Man, woman, fucking monkey, doesn't matter. That's enough to make you go insane.
That's far too much money to it's actually incomprehensible how much money that is.
Yep.
Like,
for anyone who doesn't understand the difference between a millionaire and a billionaire, Google what $1 million in cash looks like, and then Google what $1 billion in cash looks like, and that will quickly illustrate the difference.
it's insane. Like you said, is that that's an acceptable reason to divorce your misso, right?
There's no recovering from that.
You couldn't live.
Look, and I'm sure she had you know, he was probably a slob and his missus going, fuck, I'm always cleaning up after him.
He's a
But
computer engineer.
he wasn't a slob for sure.
Yeah.
No, he's fucking well organised.
Yeah.
That's heartbreaking. Imagine working a shit 9 to 5 knowing you're a billionaire, but you have to fucking work at McDonald's.
Oh, yeah. No, that's crook.
Yep. So anyone out there having a bad day, you're having a poor day, but not the worst day.
That's one of the worst days ever in history.
Yep.
We'll go from that into El Sal. So we're recording this about a week, or just a bit less than before the event starts. So we've got no idea regarding forecast.
We do.
Well, nor does it matter really, because we've butchered every forecast so far.
Well, it looks fun.
It does look fun.
Let's just say, like, if we're wrong, we just hide behind the blanket of it was Surfline's fault.
Yeah, well, Surfline's got it pretty fun looking for the next 16 days or so. So hopefully they can jag some waves there. No significant swell by the looks of, but that can change, as we know.
Small swell, high period by the looks of it. Obviously, it's pretty far out, so everything could change, but it's looking highly contestable and rippable.
Yeah, and clean, which is
very clean,
which is the main thing. Still no news on Ryan Callinan's availability for this event. I did see an Instagram story, though, of him picking up a new batch of JS's, so hopefully that means he's not too far away. And then Medina's actually available to be picked on fantasy, but I'm assuming he's not in this event. I don't think he's back from a pec injury yet.
Yeah, I don't think you're coming back anytime soon. And if you are RCal, it makes... Look, I know he's urgently trying to get some results to stay above the cut line, but it makes sense to stay in Oz until it comes all the 3 events,
for
the
sure.
trifecta in Oz. That way you're giving yourself an extra 2 weeks of healing time. Unless I was 100% confident that I am healed and ready to go, I just wouldn't fly halfway across the world just to surf in that event.
For sure. No, you make a good point there. The next 3 events beyond this are all in home soil, so that's a good call. Now, a few people that will be looking at this event to bank a result, I've sort of written a couple down from the men's and ladies. I think Felipe Toledo in 9th position, he'd really be looking at this one to use as a springboard to put himself up into the top 5. I think he's going to dominate this event. It's
kind of got Felipe 2.0 written all over it.
This could be the upcoming of or the come up of Felipe 2.0. You might call it. He's been a little bit. Look, I don't want to be too harsh on him because he's still ripping, but he just does look maybe a level or so beneath what he was.
Yeah, he needs a software update.
He does. Maybe he's going to get it in El Salvador
to fix the bugs. What the fuck is that, by the way? Does everyone just hit click yes for a software update? We're fixing bugs. Like, I'm unsure what that is. I generally
just ignore it until my computer starts smoking, and then you go, actually, I've got to update this now, and it takes 3 weeks to update. You can't use your laptop for. Yeah. But yeah, I'm not super clued in on that. But what I am fairly clued in on is I actually see Ethan as his only major threat for the win in this event. Maybe Griffin, those 2. I think it's going to be an event dominated by natural footers.
I 100% agree, and my fantasy team reflects that very clearly, except for our boy Conor O'Leary.
For sure. Who has done well there previously.
He has, and anything on his backhand's fucking insane to watch.
Yeah.
I just think Ethan, as beautiful as he can surf, if it's really clean long walls, sweet. But as we've seen in previous events with Iago, Italo, all those other guys, if there's an air section, I don't think he's going to be able to match it because previously crew were doing really nice turns but then finishing or like midway through. John was another example with oops and big punts. I just don't think you can rail surf your whole way through that event.
For sure. And that's kind of where Felipe and Griffin, to an extent, I think will challenge him. But I just see him as he's so technically sound and his timing's so good that he rarely misses a section. And every time he hits the lip, he sends spray flying and he does 3 or 4 big turns down the line. They simply have to give it more than a 7. Like, has to be.
I totally agree.
I think it'll go a long way for him.
I just think if that wind starts to puff cross onshore, and for the natural footers and goofy footers, I don't know. I just think when it gets a bit junky, he might find it hard to really connect.
For sure.
Where other people kind of probably praying for that condition. So
Yeah, and
I hope he proves me wrong.
And Philippe, like I said, I have him head and shoulders above. I think he just wins this in a canter. But I do have Ethan as a threat there. I think, like we saw in Portugal, he's just so classy. He just outclasses people
100%
to the semi-final. So if you see him hoisting the trophy at the end, I think we said this about Portugal too. It's not a surprise to anyone.
Not at all. Not at all.
He'd be in the top 4 favourites to win this event anyway.
You could pretty much copy and paste him for all 11 events.
Pretty much.
Just throw him in, and you're not going to be disappointed.
100%. The second guy that I'll talk about here, which I just sort of mentioned before, Griffin, down in 20th position, a few poor starts to the year in terms of his results. I'm sort of tipping him for a decent result here. He's won here before. He's another guy like Philippe that has levels that other guys don't, more so in terms of their sort of progression and using that as like a transition move to get down the line. I think it's really underrated at a wave like this. You've got to have those major maneuvers in there, but still keep your speed up. You can't. It's all good and well throwing a reverse down on your first turn, but if you have to spend a bit of time in the white water and figure it out and try and hop back around, the score's gone. It's him, Philippe, a few of the other guys. They just have this really good ability to throw in air and use it so that they come out of it with more speed than they went into it with. I think he's
they almost use it as a transition turn, where others will use it as a floater or a foam climb or something.
Yeah.
When they have that ability to recover from a spin that quick, it definitely, it's dangerous.
For sure. And then we did say that this is going to be a natural footer event, but I have thrown Connor into this, Connor O'Leary, sitting in 21st, so he's inside the cut line.
I don't think he wants to be there though.
Nah.
That's a pretty dangerous, dicey spot.
For sure.
Let's call him a veteran, he wants to be higher up.
100%. And I'm tipping him for a result here. If we can get some clean waves, I think when it goes onshore, that's when it becomes especially difficult for the goofy footers. But if we can get some clean waves and he can just let his backhand go on a few, I think he'll go far into this event too. And then on the ladies' side of things, Brissa Hennessy, she's down to 13th spot on the ladies' rankings. So she's outside the cut. She'll be looking at some long right-handers here to get herself back in the mix. And sort of similarly to Betty Lou and Tatiana, 15th and 17th place respectively. They are right down the rankings, sort of like third and dead last. So look, I won't be surprised that either of these girls turn this into a result, and they really have to. Winners and dark horses for this event. Zach, you go for your ladies winner.
I'm going to be boring and just go Katie Simmers. We've already touched on it. It's can be at times quite a tricky fast wave to read. Mm-hmm. Therefore, someone's ability to navigate that is going to shine above all. So she's very fast, agile surfer. Mm-hmm. Probably one of the most sharpest agile surfers.
Yep.
And she's going to be looking at it on her forehand. So those two things alone for me is enough to put her at the top. And then the cherry on top is she does have that repertoire of maneuvers where she can play with laybacks, spinners, whatnot. Just things that some, like obviously goofy footers can't bring at certain events. So I think she's going to be unstoppable.
Straighties too. She can throw down some airs. So
she can.
It'd be good to see her sort of tap into that. My ladies winner, I've gone with Caralupo Marks, or Mark Caralupo, you might call her. She's won this event the last 2 years.
Are you referring to Mark Ocavalupo here?
Correct.
Right.
She has won this event 2 years consecutively.
Is it the hair? Is that where you're getting?
No, it's a backhand.
Right, gotcha.
I can't lay claim to that either. That's well known. I'm surprised you haven't heard of that.
I have not known.
No, she won this event 2 years in a row. She'll be thereabouts again. She's very good. Her backhand is amazing. So we'll throw her in for the winner. On your men's side, Zach.
I have gone Rio Wada for the win, and I've put him as ×2 on my fantasy too.
Nice.
So he's just on a roll. We've previously spoken about, so no real need to deep dive into this one. It just makes sense for me. It's like a big version of Padma.
Yeah.
And I remember I used to put clips out of him at Padma just fucking smashing it. So I'm getting memories of that. a bit of nostalgia, so I've picked Rio.
Nice. And I like the point of difference in the fantasy going the times 2. You're looking to make up some spots here, and that could be a very good way to do it.
Yeah, I've asked around about how I can get off the bottom. Pretty much my only way to get mid above is to double points some random fucking wild accusations and hope that they land.
I like the pick. Can I also just say, though, that's not necessarily the case. I've been through this a couple of times, but on the fantasy, we're up to 1.4 times multiplier now. So you're getting 40% more points than you were for the same picks in event 1.
Why is that?
That's what happens. So it rolls on. So each event you get an extra 0.1 times on your multiplier. So it may be a bit confusing, but every event your points are worth more.
Right, I'm going to have to fucking read the rule book here. I've been stitched up.
So, but you can, next event will be 1.5 and you get 50% more than you were in event 1.
I've just been putting *2 on Yolanda Hopkins every event.
Well, you might not need... I like the Rio pick, though. I can't see him getting less than a sort of quarters here. I think he'll do really well, and not many people will have him. It could just bite you down the line a little bit if Philippe starts dropping 8.
We'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Yeah, so, and that's my men's winner as well. I've gone Philippe. I'm doubling down from Portugal. I just think he's too good. That's all there is to it, really.
Fair enough.
Yep.
And your women's dark horse pick?
Bit of a left field one here.
Well, it should be. It's a dark horse.
Yeah, yeah, well, true. Good point.
I'm going to be fucking Katie Simmons, is it?
No. But especially left field, because it's not really someone that I'd thought I'd pick at any event this year, maybe barring Chopu. But she really impressed me in the wave pull on the rights. So I've gone for Heen Fierro. Her backhand's pretty good. So I think she can notch up in a good result here. I don't think she'll win. But
I say backhand on the rights?
Yeah. She's a goofy footer.
Yep, okay. You've just spoken highly of natural footers and gone straight for a goofy footer. That's okay.
I'll clarify that by saying I don't think she's going to win the event. I just think she can do a bit of damage. Like the bottom half of the tour, and we both sort of looked at this before. It's hard, isn't it? It's not great, and I did just.
Well, it's great. It's hard to decipher clear differences, in my opinion.
For sure.
They could all. When you're looking at it, you're like, yeah, they could all do all right. But when it comes down to like who's going to win, you're like, it's that same tier. Well, it's not even tier A because Tyler's in it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's honestly Erin Brooks, Molly Picklum, Katie Simmers, Caroline's in this weird zone. I feel like Caroline and Molly are in this weird generational transition, where they were there before these younger crew, but they were there before also the older crew.
Yeah.
They're almost being slightly forgotten in a way.
It's like they kind of like, sort of, when you see the ice, that, I don't know what the sport is, the curls.
Yeah, curling.
The curling, and you have the person like brushing the ice in front. That's them. They basically brush the ice for these new girls to come in.
Yeah, they've laid the bed.
They have, and I think they've your Katies and your Erins have just ridden their coattails in, and I think they're just going to go straight up. So, I actually really like that analogy on the fly as well.
We're good. We're poets.
We are. Your dark horse?
My dark horse is going to be Brisa. I think I just have a weird feeling. It's a bit of a stab in the dark here. So, Brisa, it's on her forehand. She's quite smaller build.
Yep.
And the waves aren't going to be 10 foot and tubing.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think she could quietly overachieve this event.
And she's Central American, I think. I think her...
Originally, I think she was born there or has the nationality of Costa Rican.
I think so.
But spends majority of her time in Hawaii.
Yes. So, but she knows the local language, so you feel comfortable in that regard. That can all help.
Let's go for that.
There you go. Now, our men's dark horses. So I've gone with Sammy Pupo. I've got visions of him on this black carbon board, similar to what we saw at Snapper last year, when our good mate Mikey took him down. But he just is so good, and I'm so shocked to see him this far down the rankings. I just think he will be really impressive this event. He's super fast. He's similar to Philippe. I just think as a tier C, which which we'll get into. But so he's like the very bottom of the rankings. I think he shouldn't be there, and I think this event he'll bounce out of there. So I've gone Sammy, and I think probably a similar line of thinking for you with yours.
Yeah, just before we move on to mine, I often like disagreeing with you, but I strongly agree with Sammy Pupo fucking coming out swinging at this event. I think he's going to do exceptionally well.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
It's built for him, this wave.
It is, yeah.
Mine is Crosby.
Yep.
I think there was a Cola Bros episode of them last year there.
Yep.
And Crosby was fucking ripping. And as soon as I saw his name and where it is, my mind went back there, and I just went, it's a sure thing.
Yep.
So again, it's a dark horse. So I don't perhaps see him standing with a trophy over his head at the end, but I think he's going to do a bit of damage.
Beautiful. Yeah, I tend to agree as well. And then we'll just get into our full fantasy teams, just for the listeners. Now, we sort of said before that we don't really know who's getting wildcards into this. Usually, and I forget his surname, Brian someone, he gets he's called the Pink Panther, I think, on Instagram. He generally gets a wild card in this, and he actually took down some pretty big names last year. He made a couple of heats and put some big scores in, so he is a guy that you can maybe think of in your fantasy teams, but they haven't really been announced yet, so we're not dealing with that. But I don't think I would have put him in there anyway. So I'll run through my ladies, and then you do yours.
Yep.
And then we'll go men's after. So I've gone with Caroline Marks. She's my ×2. I think she's going to win the event. I've put her in there in my tier A. In my tier B, Gabby Bryan and Erin Brooks. Much to, I'm a bit concerned about Erin here. I think her lack of spray may bite her a little bit, but her speed could make up for that. So I'm happy to have her in there. Gabby's super powerful, like we touched on, so I think she's going to be fine. And then my tier C is Betty Lou. So that's mine. Who's yours?
I've gone, surprise, surprise, Katie Simmers for the win.
Beautiful.
Still not happy with the picks that you can choose for tier A, might I add. Tier B, I've gone Gabby Bryan as well. Mm-hmm. All regular affair for my women's.
Yep.
I've gone a little bit of a rogue one here, and I've gone Lakey Peterson.
I don't mind it.
I, again, just get these weird feelings, and I guess that's what we all get when you're picking a team. So that's just one that stuck. And to be honest, like I said before, it's kind of like splitting hairs with that whole bottom group. They could all do so well, or they could all serve as good as my dad.
Sorry, I just had a flashback to you talking about Joanne Defay earlier.
Yeah, that was a pretty rogue comment.
That was so crazy.
I don't know if that'll see the light of day, but we will see.
Yeah, I'll be putting it in, don't you worry.
Okay, all good. I've said worse. Men's, who have you got?
Tier A, Italo, who I've said goofy footers won't
boring.
Goofy footers won't do well here necessarily, but I think he's just good anywhere. This bloke.
Yeah, he is, but it's boring.
Sorry, mate. I'm trying to win. I'm trying to impress people. Ethan Ewing is my other tier A.
Much better.
Thanks. Tier B and ×2, my man Philippe. He's getting the double points. Then I've thrown Connor in, Joel Vaughan, Griffin Colapinto. They're all in my tier B. And then my tier C is Sammy Pupo and Crosby.
I like it.
Thank you.
Solid.
Who's yours?
Tier A is Rio Wada ×2.
Yeah.
Confident.
Rogue.
Padma boys fucking gonna agree with me there.
Nice.
Kanoa Igarashi.
Yep, like it.
Yeah, I just think this could be... I get this feeling like... Well, not a feeling. To me, El Salvador feels similar to Karamas in a way.
No, I'm right there with you.
He's obviously had one of the best... it would be his best result.
He won.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He hasn't won again.
No.
So my brain goes back there. I think he's going to do really well here.
I had a good look at him too when I was looking at mine.
You just didn't tap?
I didn't put him in, but I don't hate the pick at all. I think it's a good pick.
Like it. Thank you. Thank you very much. Tier B, I've gone Georgie Pitar, Connor O'Leary, Felipe Toledo 2.0. They've spelt his name wrong on WSL. There's no 2.0 there. We'll have to get onto that. Liam O'Brien, Tier C, Crosby, Colapinto, and Samuel Pupo. So the same Tier C we have, which I'm happy about.
Beautiful. Look, that's probably us, really. Look, thanks for listening again, guys. Don't forget, like we said off the top, make sure you chuck us a follow on the Largo podcast on Instagram. Most people don't have TikTok, but if you're on there, jump on.
The Chinese have TikTok.
They do. They own it, don't they?
Yeah, they're watching.
Yeah. Unfortunately for us, that's a place where you can get views quite easily, so they can watch all they want.
Yeah, we're a slut for the views.
And then like and subscribe, the old catchphrase of the vlogger, but
that's it.
We're going to throw that in there too on YouTube, the Largo podcast. Thanks again for listening, and we will see you next week.
Adios.
Sayonara.
Bye.
Thank you.